Good evening, students. Today we'll be starting with the first chapter of biology. Now, this year you have science in three formats: physics, chemistry, and biology. Till last year, you had only science, there was no classification as such into physics, chemistry, and biology separately. But from this time, you have three subjects classified differently, and three teachers will be teaching you separately. So all the three aspects of this subject are important so as to get marks in the exam. Now the starting of biology will be done by this chapter, which is called as the fundamental unit of life. It is chapter 5 of your textbook. Now, starting with this chapter, I would like to tell you a story with respect to this chapter. The story, I have named the story as Discovery Tales. Now, in this Discovery Tales, I would like to tell you that there was a person, a scientist rather, who took a thin slice of cork. Now, here again the question comes, what is cork? Now, cork is a substance that is obtained from the bark of a tree. Now, he observed the bark of the tree and saw that it resembled a honeycomb. The bark or the cork, it looked like a honeycomb, and as you know, honeycomb has many compartments in it. Those compartments, he named it as cells. Now this word cell is like, the meaning of the word cell is little space. In Latin language, it is called as little space. Now this was the first time that somebody said that a living substance actually consisted of small units or small compartments like that. As I just said, that he took the cork and the cork looked like a honeycomb. So those small compartments in the cork which he could see were called as cells. Now these cells, as you know, they are present in all living organisms, and they are the smallest unit of any living organism. Now this story might seem very simple and very insignificant, but this story had a great role to play in science, because with this discovery of the cell, people could go into further detailed study of science as well as biology. Now secondly, we would like to talk about the discoveries that took place with respect to the cell in the following years that I have stated here. Now if you see the first stage was 1665. Robert Hooke, he was the person who discovered the cell, and the story that I have just now narrated to you was about Robert Hooke. He was the person who discovered the cell. He was the person who took the cork sample and viewed it like a honeycomb. Next achievement came in the year 1674, when Leeuwenhoek, he developed an improved microscope. We will study about the microscope in detail, but you just know now for the time being that Leeuwenhoek, he developed an improved microscope so that you could see the cell in a better way, in a magnified way. As you know, microscope is a device by which you can see small objects in a magnified manner. Now came the year 1831, in which Robert Brown, another scientist, he discovered the nucleus in a cell. As you know, nucleus is present in every cell. You have studied in class 8 also about this chapter, the cell, maybe in a small format, But Robert Brown was the person who discovered the nucleus in the cell, and the nucleus is basically the brain of the cell. It controls and coordinates all the functioning of the cell. The next discovery came up in 1839. A scientist called as Purkinje, he gave a term called as protoplasm. The meaning of the word protoplasm is all the living contents inside the cell constitute the protoplasm. All the fluid contents inside the cell, all the living contents inside the cell, they were called as the protoplasm. Purkinje was the person who gave the word or the term protoplasm. Next came the year 1838, where a scientist called as Cleiden, and in 1839 there was a scientist called as Swan. They both together, they proposed a theory called as the cell theory. We'll again study in detail about the cell theory. For the time being, you just know that they were the two contributors of the proposed cell theory. And lastly, in the discovery came in 1855, where a scientist called as Virchow, he said that all the cells, they actually arose, they came from the pre-existing cells. According to him, cells lived before also. So the new cells came from the old cells. From the pre-existing cell came up the new cells when the nature was formed or when the discovery of the living organisms had taken place.